You're listening to the Kelly Green Hour for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter, @ANYPodcast, or visit us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such eager my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, my lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Kelly Green Hour, as we are going to get you set for Week 8 in the National Football League as your Philadelphia Eagles travel to Western New York, I think, to face the Buffalo Bills, the 5-1 Buffalo Bills, who are in second place in the AFC East, while your Philadelphia Eagles are in second place in the NFC East. But before we get to that Eagles-Bills matchup, we have something to discuss. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and joining me today, as always, is Connor. Connor, how's it going?
I am doing good. It's a weekend, so I'm going to a concert tomorrow in Halifax, which is like 3 hours away from me. So
That's a lot of traveling.
Not terrible. Could be a lot worse.
That's very true. That's very true. All right. So we usually come into these preview segments and we jump right into the Eagles' next opponent. But we have to talk about Orlando Scandrick. He made the rounds at FS1 today, and he had a lot to say. You listened to it. I listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on what he had to say?
Well, I guess I'll preface this by saying I don't agree with how he came out, how he did it. I felt that it was very spiteful, proven by his final statement about leaving Dallas and that he was sad that he left Dallas. It was the only spot he actually felt like home and all this stuff after going on like an 8-minute rant bashing everything about the Philadelphia Eagles. But, I mean, I think it really opens up the whole culture debate with the Philadelphia Eagles and really brings back around the comments that we made on the last episode about hanging out your dirty laundry to the media and stuff. I mean, I think Eagles fans have to take it with a grain of salt, which we won't, and we don't. We need to take it a bit more open and not just lash out at the words that he stated, because you could tell he was spiteful. He was upset. And I think there's some truth, and I think there's actually some agreeable points that he did bring up. But, I mean, how he went about it, going on a show with Skip Bayless, who was clearly going to provoke the instance and stuff. I mean, obviously, he's going to just completely rip the Eagles and have nothing good to say about it. But I do think that he made some really good points and really spoke to the culture of the locker room right now and the situations in the locker room that are coming up.
Like, what did you think was good? Because he sounded like a scorned lover to me. I mean, the Eagles kind of went, the Eagles kind of buried him when whoever runs their Twitter account deserves a raise, because he was mic'd up, or Malcolm Jenkins was mic'd up, and he went up to Malcolm Jenkins and saying, this is why you're the leader of this team. This is why you have that C on, keep doing you. And then not more than a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he's on FS1 talking all this trash. Also, after the Dallas game on Monday, he was talking about how everything's great in the locker room, and again, 4 or 5 days later, he's coming out and saying something totally different. So I mean, he just seems like a scorned lover to me, somebody who, didn't feel as he shouldn't have been released. And who knows? I mean, does he think he's better than some of the guys that are playing? Does he think he's better than Craig James? Maybe. But, I mean, the Eagles he's gotten released by Dallas. He got released by Washington, got released by the Chiefs. He's just not a good football player anymore. So, but what were some of the things that he said that you thought were relevant?
I kind of agree with the statement that he made about living off the Super Bowl high and the Super Bowl hype still. I mean, it's hard not to agree with that sentiment because, I mean, we get hyped up during the off season saying we're number one this, number one that, talented here, talented there.
I mean, that was Pro Football Focus saying that, we had the best offensive line, the best receiving corps, the best
Absolutely.
defensive line.
So
that was other people saying that.
It's not just the Eagles living off the hype and the high. It's other people doing it too. But there's a part of me that feels like we are still living off that high. That's why Howie Roseman's trying to keep all these pieces together, trying to keep these people around, because he thinks that maybe this team still has a chance, still has opportunity coming off of that. And I mean, he did make some interesting statements about that's all some of these people know. That's what they came into with the Philadelphia Eagles and stuff. So that's they don't know what it's like to go through these tough times and these losing times and these trying times. So, I mean, I can see that statement. I kind of agree with the statement on Lane Johnson. I mean,
Lane Johnson actually agreed with it too. So
exactly. I mean, you don't go calling out people being late and making that statement. That's Lane Johnson doing that in front of the media is no better than Orlando Scandrick doing what he just did. Don't hang your dirty laundry out to the media like that, and don't call anyone out but yourself, because that's all that you can control. You can't control the other players. You can't control who's going to show up, when they're going to show up, how they want to show up. I mean, I think we can all agree with his point on Foles versus Wentz. He did not say one or the other, but his statement was true. It rings true. Foles is not walking back through that door, and we've invested all our money and all our marbles in Carson Wentz. So, I mean, we know that. His take on Dak versus Wentz was interesting, to say the least, especially when referring to success and saying that maybe because Wentz has had more success than Dak, that Wentz is not going to work as hard. I didn't agree with that statement, that sentiment whatsoever. I thought, though, the take on Rasul Douglas getting burnt, the comments, and then saying other people have to pay attention and catch their assignment or help out on the assignment, is up for debate. He said
about that comment. He made it seem like nobody took accountability for it. But right after that game, both Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod both came out and said that they made a mistake. They weren't in the right spot. So it's like he doesn't even know what he's talking about, because they actually, after the game, came out and said, look, that was Malcolm said that was his fault. He was reading something else. He read the crosser, which obviously he shouldn't have. So some of the things that Scandrick said, yeah, maybe they have a point there, but most of the stuff he said was baloney. I mean, he sounded like somebody who just got released and who was trying to prepare for his second career, because nobody in the NFL, after what he just did, is going to sign him. He is not going to be trusted in any locker room now. No.
I mean, it happens all the time. You know what? The fun thing I'll say about this, because I actually agree with it. It's fair, and I do believe it's fair, and open dialogue is good for teams, and saying things to the media can be okay. Not like what he did, not like what Lane Johnson did, but it's constantly negative. There's so often that it's negative or meant to be specific in nature towards an individual, similar to what Lane Johnson did. He called individuals out, but wouldn't call himself out, wouldn't put himself in the light. So when times get good, you better be ready to speak loud and clear when things are going well. And you better be ready to speak the same way you're speaking lowly of the team right now. You better be prepared to speak highly of that team or highly of this team and this group if things start going better, which I think they will get going better. But there's so much focus on the negative, and I think that we need to focus, kind of bring it away from being so calling people out and so negative, and just, yeah, I'll take blame for that. Yeah, okay, whatever, I'll take blame for that. I messed up, I missed my assignment, whatever. But don't go calling others out, and don't go like Orlando Scandrick and just spitefully, despite that I do think some of his statements are true, do not go and just spitefully throw jabs at a team just because you got released on a show where a guy bashes the Eagles every single week when he gets a chance. He did that on purpose.
Yeah, and everybody knew it, and whatever. I mean, like Malcolm Jenkins said, they don't need these MFers in the locker room like him, that are going to try to bring the team down. And, I hope that this brings the team together. It shouldn't take something like this to bring the team together. I mean, it should have happened after that Vikings game. You shouldn't have went into Dallas the way they did and unprepared as unprepared as they were. But hopefully this brings the team together and they can something positive can come from this. And if it does, we can thank Orlando Scandrick for that. But it shouldn't have come to this. Unfortunately, it probably has. But I did want to touch on that for, I guess the first 10 minutes of our segment.
I definitely think it'll bring about positive things because there's the anonymous source. There's Lane Johnson. There's
the
Malcolm
anonymous
Jenkins,
source. I'm almost positive the anonymous source was Orlando Scandrick because Josina Anderson.
Feels like it.
Well, Josina Anderson retweeted something. I don't know who it was from, but it was an Orlando Scandrick comment, and she put on the record ... So I'm almost positive that Scandrick had to have been her anonymous source. I was skeptical about it being, and Howard Eskin saying that it was Alshon. I was skeptical about it because Alshon caught 10 balls the week that this came out. Like, why would Alshon go out of his way to talk about the team needs to check it down more when he caught 10 balls? Mm-hmm. So that's why I was skeptical about that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But I mean, now we can discuss some more positive things, like how this is going to turn into a victory over the Buffalo Bills this weekend.
I don't know about that, but so let us talk about the Bills. The Bills, again, they are 5-1. They have a very good defense. Jordan Poyer, who used to be on the Eagles, he was a draft pick, I believe, of the Eagles. They also have Kurt Coleman. Sean McDermott runs their defense. Used to be on the Eagles staff, was a defensive coordinator at one point in time after Jim Johnson unfortunately passed away. He kind of got ran out of town a little earlier than he probably should have. And I won't lie, I was pissed off at him when he was here because it just didn't seem like things were going well. And then, of course, after that, we hired Juan Castillo, and we all know how that went. We're going to start with the Bills defense. They are a really good defense. Mm-hmm. Tre'Davious White, one of the better corners in the league. He is also on the outside. He's probably going to be on Alshon. Alshon might not get many targets this week. Ed Oliver, they drafted to take the place of Kyle Williams in the middle of that defensive line. They have I think he's 6'7", middle linebacker, and Tremaine Edmonds, I think.
Tremaine Edmonds, yeah,
there we go. I know he has a brother that plays for Pittsburgh, but Tremaine Edmonds. This is a fast defense. If there is a week that you're expecting or thinking that the Eagles offense can get right, it's probably not this week and probably not next week because they get the Bears. So It's going to be another tough time for this offense, but this is where this is where Doug Peterson is going to have to devise a game plan to get guys open in space, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we say this literally we've said it every week since the start of the season, that Doug Pearson has to prepare a better game, prepare a better called game, get some better plays in mind. But yeah, you alluded to it. This Bills defense is lethal. They're third in the NFL, only behind the 49ers and the Patriots, giving up 15 points per game. And the thing that sticks out to me is they're fourth against the pass. They've given up 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They have 14 plays of 20-plus yards and only 1 play of 40-plus yards given up. So this defense does not give up big chunk plays. They keep the play in front of them. They make their tackles. They're tough. They're gritty, almost opposite of anything our offense has proven or done at all, minus maybe the Green Bay week. But this, like you alluded to it, they don't give up big plays. They make their tackles. They keep the play in front of them. They rank 10th against the rush. And I mean, our rush isn't that great in the first place. So And our passing offense is not great in the first place either. We rank 14th in rushing and 20th in passing. So it definitely should be interesting because it's going to need to be all the skill players for the Eagles on point, and Carson Wentz, who's been fairly on point, to continue to be on point. Because we definitely can't blame Carson Wentz for the situation with the Eagles offense. He has a 90.4 passer rating, and he has a 13-5 touchdown to interception ratio. So pretty hard to blame Carson Wentz for anything. But
last week was probably the worst game he had all year.
Guaranteed, but it was also the worst game of the offensive line, Lane Johnson, pretty much the entire offense. I don't know if there's very many people that I can say, look at Boston Scott looked good for the few minutes that he got to play at the end of the game. He was probably the best looking thing.
Garbage time.
It is, whatever. No one else was playing in garbage time.
Just saying, Dallas had the game wrapped up. They weren't trying. They're just playing, let's not let them come back defense. But if there's one hope for the Eagles coming in, offense coming into this game, is look who the Bills have played. They played the Jets. They were down 16-nothing before they made their comeback. They played Miami last week, and Miami was actually in the lead of that game for a little bit, and then the Bills were only up 3 until an onside kick that Micah Hyde took for a touchdown. The best offense they played this year was the Patriots, and they actually held the Patriots and probably could have won that game if Matt Barkley wasn't the starting quarterback that day. So if you look at who the teams the Bills have played, they haven't played anybody great besides the Patriots. So maybe, and obviously it would be a lot easier if there was Deshaun, but Deshaun's not on the field. But you'd have to think that the Eagles could potentially be one of the better offenses that the Bills are going to play or have played up to this point. So maybe the Eagles offense is going to devise a plan.
It's really hard to call them one of the better offenses when we've seen the way they've been playing.
I know, but look at the teams on the schedule that the Bills have played is what I'm saying.
Like I feel like you probably are saying that with a smile on your face because it's really hard to say that seriously right now.
It's hard with the way they've played. I mean, it is, but I'm just saying that looking at the schedule for the Bills,
it could be skewed.
They haven't really played anybody. But again, I mean, Dallas also lost to the Jets before they demolished us. So who knows?
And minute the Vikings look not great, then they came and played us. We make every quarterback who supposedly is struggling look really good for some reason. And Josh Allen is really inconsistent.
He's pretty much, he's not like a Lamar Jackson,
no.
But he's okay. So let's go to this offense and your favorite quarterback in the National Football League, Josh Allen.
Come on now.
A team that you're very obviously. I mean, I meant to mention this at the outset. A team you were very high on. You had them going to the playoffs. They are 5-1. They're in good position. They're also going to be coming up to a tougher part of their schedule, so things could change. But they are led by Josh Allen, and the weather in Buffalo on Sunday could be raining, so we could see a heck of a lot of Frank Gore and Devin Singletary. We know that the Eagles, at least coming into last week, they were the second rushing defense, but gave up over 180 yards to Dallas. What's not going to help is, yes, they have Fletcher Cox, but next to Fletcher Cox, they have Anthony Rush, who they signed off of the Raiders practice squad. They have Albert Huggins, who they signed off of the Texans practice squad. And they have Bruce Hector, who they just brought up from their own practice squad.
I think combined, they all have 8 games of NFL experience, and they're all Bruce Hector.
Probably, and with the Eagles last year. So, so I don't know how. Look, Jim Schwartz hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been great. But it's so hard to blame him with the way the Eagles have, or the way the injuries have piled up on the defensive side of the ball. The Malik Jacksons, the Tim Jernigans, the Nigel Bradhams. Like we're not going to have Bradham this week. We're going to see Nate Jerry Camus Grugier-Hill and TJ Edwards on the field again against a team that's going to run the ball right down our throats. I had no faith in that trio of linebackers doing anything this week.
No, neither do I. I mean, that's second level, and that was one of my matchups that I talked about was Devin Singletary versus our linebackers. He can make big plays, and our defense can give up big plays. So the right mismatch or some missed tackles, which we witnessed really pathetically last week, can cause a lot of issues for this team. Devin Singletary, he's a great check down guy. I have him in a lot of fantasy leagues, so I'm really hoping for a big game, but an Eagles win nonetheless. But and then, like you said, Frank Gore, he's that power back who can, if he can get past that defense, if he can avoid Fletcher Cox and get to that second level, Frank Gore could really be out. The ageless wonder could be in for another really big game.
Former Eagle great Frank Gore.
Oh, Jesus. Relive that. But, I mean, you speak to it. The Bills' offense isn't great, but at the same time, the Eagles' defense isn't great. Our passing defense ranks 27th. We're tied for.
And they got speed. They got John Brown on the outside. Cole Beasley always, when he was with Dallas, he always seemed to make a catch here and there that would get the first down for them. So,
big time.
I mean, we talk about how Josh Allen's not that great of a quarterback, but if there's a chance for him to get right, it could be this week too. So it's going to be really tough for this Eagles offense and defense. They're going to have to find a way to make plays. The defense has to get off. Like, it happens too many times where we get to a third and long, and I have zero confidence in our defense to stop the opposing offense.
We play the sticks defense. We literally stand at the sticks and pray that we can make that tackle, and that just, it doesn't work. It probably speaks to the fact that we've given up 24 or more points in 6 of 7 games and 27 or more in 5 of those games, because we constantly give teams the opportunity. We push them back. They get pushed back by penalties. We saw that. And somehow in 2 downs, they're able to get that first down again. And we just give too many opportunities with missed tackles, with playing that sticks defense on 3rd down, 3rd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and basically 3rd and anything. We might as well just step off the field. But, I mean, it's tough to watch right now. I mean, we give offenses way too many opportunities. And given the fact that Josh Allen's been extremely inconsistent, and he's not able to make any big plays, you would think that this is a match made in heaven for the Eagles D to turn it around. But there's a part of me that just is not feeling confident at all.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting game. Looking at this offensive front for the Bills, I mean, Cody Ford, who they drafted out of Oklahoma this year, somebody I wanted the Eagles to draft, but they took Dillard. So I can't be too mad. He's the right tackle. And who's on that side? Is that Brandon Grant? I think that's Derek Barnett. You're going to have to win that battle. The defensive line has to find a way to win the battle, and the Eagles cannot allow the Bills to drive up and down the field. They've done it way too many times this season. The Eagles can't get down by double digits again for the 7th time in 8 games. It's all this stuff that we say, and we're like, oh, of course, that's obvious. You can't do it. But it happens every week to the Eagles.
Oh, yeah. It's just week in and week out, big chunk play after big chunk play. We've given up 8 40-plus yard passing plays. That's second worst in the NFL.
And they only gave up, four last year?
Yeah, it's something really low. We didn't give up these plays. So it's at this point, it's so hard to just blame the secondary at the same time, because it feels like the whole defense needs to clean up their game, get their act together, and get their assignment, get whatever you got to do. You got to figure it out, because you're facing a quarterback with a 78.3 passer rating, and the team passing has a 7 touchdown to 8 interception ratio. So they've thrown more picks than they've thrown touchdowns. So, I mean, this is a real game to turn things around. But there's a part of me that just, my heart aches. My heart can't fully side with the Eagles defense.
And we never bring this up, but I wanted to touch on special teams, because the Bills special teams, I mean, against the Dolphins, I think it was last week or the week before, Micah Hyde had the onside kick return for a touchdown. But opposing teams have missed 6 field goals of 40-plus yards, I think it is, against the Bills, which you set up their offense in really good field position. They're not inside the 20. They're up towards the 40 midfield mark. So, Jake Elliott hasn't missed any kicks yet this year, knock on wood. But, again, the conditions at Ralph Wilson Stadium, which I think is still the name of that stadium, the conditions there, it's going to be really difficult. Cam Johnson has been out. It's really bad when your punter and kicker have been your two of your best players on the year 7 games into the season. Like, they have been outstanding for the Eagles.
Cam Johnston is a monster. That leg, like, I feel like we'd lose a lot more games by a lot more points if it wasn't for Cam Johnston.
Which is bad when we're giving up
man.
like 40. When the Eagles defense, I feel like, has given up like 40 points a game in the last couple of weeks, and the offense can only score 15 points. The Eagles offense has scored average 15 points a game the last 3 weeks. The Eagles defense is giving up over 35. That's not a measure. That's not a measurement for success. You can't win that way. I mean, obviously, I'm being Captain Obvious here, but just play basic football. Do not turn the ball over 2 times in the first 5 minutes of the game and give the home team a 2 touchdown lead right away. That doesn't help. If you get down double digits against this Bills team, you are not coming back against that defense. And you give that defensive line for the Bills, they can just pin their ears back and come after Carson Wentz. And, with the way that the Eagles offensive line has been playing lately, we can't have that. Can't have it at all.
No, it goes without saying. I mean, we sound like a broken record week in and week out. You have to start fast. The offensive line has to be stout. The defensive line has to be stout. They have to get to the quarterback. It feels like we're saying the same old song and dance every single week. And for 1 week, can we have something different to say as a key to the game for the next week? Because we actually saw that key to the game work the week prior. That's just like, if there was one wish
against Minnesota, I said they needed to get Miles Sanders against Kendricks or Barr, and they did it, and they scored a touchdown. So that's half of me. Like, besides them getting killed that game, I was sort of right on that. We can take that as a success.
I mean, it was just one play, so he
did it multiple times that game because he had close to 100 yards receiving.
This could allude to how bad our season is, that we pick a point and we say, well, that one play, they did what I said right there. 2 plays, whatever. 2 plays, 3 plays. There's like we have 40 offensive plays in a game, and we have to literally go and say those 2 plays, they did exactly what I said. That they're turning it around big time.
I'm just saying, you got to take the positive when we can take the positive. All right, let's move on to our keys to the game. I know you kind of usually touch on yours when we look at the opposing team, the offense and the defense. But if you want to expand, give me an offensive key and a defensive key to the game for either the Bills or the Eagles.
I guess I'll start with the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense just needs to clean up their game. I mean, we've kind of alluded to it. We've kind of talked about it. We're 6th in the league in penalties, 18th in yards. So we're lucky that the yards haven't come back to bite us and that the penalties have not been big chunk penalties. That's a positive, but the fact that we get so many penalties on defense is a complete negative. The Buffalo Bills are one of the top 10 teams in penalties and yards, so that could also be a sign of why they're doing as good as they're doing, because they're not making stupid decisions and doing stupid things to set them back. The Eagles rank 7th in missed tackles and 4th in yards, 8th in yards after the catch. I mean, the defensive stats can be rattled off all night. They just have to clean up their game. They have to bring it back to basics and just keep things simple. And I think that the defense could have a lot more success, and maybe having 3 new defensive tackles with less than 8 games experience. Maybe Jim Schwartz will be like, maybe I got to dumb this game down a little bit and bring some of this defensive game back to basics. And that will allow them to clean up their game and maybe make the important stops that they need to make to help out the Eagles offense. On the flip side of the ball, I'm going to steal one of yours. Peterson needs to let the Bronco buck. He needs to have confidence. He has to let Carson throw. He needs to show confidence. He has to, like we were alluding to on our last episode, he has to block out the noise and play Peterson's brand of football. And we're not talking this year's Peterson's brand of football. We're talking the Peterson that coached Nick Foles to a Super Bowl and one catch away from facing the Saints and potentially another Super Bowl berth. So we want that brand of Doug Peterson football back. We currently rank 30th in catch rate. We have 8 lost fumbles, which is tied for 4th worst, and we've trailed by double digits in 6 of 7 games at one point or another. So, I mean, you just have to probably completely change your game plan. I feel like we say this week in and week out, this is a Doug Peterson game. Well, Doug Peterson does need to show that he has confidence in his quarterback and prove that Howie is not completely incompetent this year by saying, I know why you paid Carson Wentz all this money, and I'm going to show you in this game. I'm going to let this man throw. I'm going to call the play. I'm going to let Carson throw and do whatever he wants to do. I'm not going to run on 2 downs and only give Carson one chance to throw. Come with a completely different Peterson branded game plan.
I agree with what you said. I'm going to add in there I mentioned it earlier, do not turn the ball over. If you turn the ball over, you're not going to win. This is a game that the Eagles can win. Again, the Bills defense isn't that great while the Bills offense, is not that great while their defense is really phenomenal. And we know that McDermott has this, game circled on his calendar. He wants to beat the team that he used to coach with. So this is going to be a big game, and obviously they want to prove that they're real. A lot of people are saying that their 5-1 record is inflated, and maybe I'm saying that a little bit too. But they want to come out and continue to win games where they're only. The spread of this game is 1.5, 2 points. Like, that means in theory that a lot of people think the Eagles are a better team because you get 3 points for being a home team. So the Bills want to come out and prove that they need to stop being disrespected. So the Eagles have to come out and play their game, as you said. We need a Doug Peterson game. And again, we sound like a broken record because we say it every week, and every week we get let down. But stop trying to outsmart everybody else. We don't want to see 3 runs on the first 3 plays, go 3 and out and putting the ball back to the Bills. Get creative. Find a way to get Nelson in the open field, whether that's swing routes out of the backfield, doing reverse. We haven't seen reverses. We barely see screens. We need to see it all. Defensively for the Eagles, get back to the fundamentals. Stop, read your keys. Stop being biting on double moves. Just tackle. It's all the simple stuff that everybody who's played the game of football or knows the game of football, you've been taught since day one. Do that. You have an opportunity to, win this game, get back to 500, and make a semi. Your next 2 opponents, yes, they have really good defenses, but their offenses are lackluster. You have to find a way to win these games. You have to find a way to not allow these mediocre quarterbacks that you're going up against in Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky to not throw for 300 yards. If they throw for 300 yards, you're just useless. There is no point for you being on the field. You give up way. You mentioned it. You mentioned the stat. You give up way too many big plays. So stop it. That's pretty much what I'm going to say. Tackle, hit, and stop. Don't go for hits. Frank Gore is a load. Wrap him up. They're going to try to wear down the Eagles' defensive front. So in the 4th quarter, they can give it to Devin Singletary, and he can go off. Do not allow that to happen.
Yeah, it's just like that for one of those Zeke runs last week where Malcolm Jenkins, you got to know better. He stuck his head and shoulder down, and he basically prayed. How many times has Zeke hurdled defenders? Like, don't. This is the same with Frank. Frank Gore ain't hurdling you. He might break his hip if he hurdles you. But Frank Gore will run. If you duck your head down and you pray for your tackle, you're going to end up on your ass, and he's going to be walking over you and continuing down the field. So you cannot. You just wrap him up. Stop thinking like, I want to make a big hit or whatever. Who cares? We don't care if you make a big hit. If you make a good old-fashioned wrap him up and drag him down by his knees tackle, we would probably be equally as proud, and we would probably applaud that more than we would applaud the hit like Brandon Cooks in the Super Bowl where he got knocked out cold. We don't need those hits on every play, especially this year. We just need a completed tackle, no more missed tackles. I guess I'll point out one more thing to definitely look at. The offensive line needs to perform because the Bills rank in the bottom half of the league in all categories involving quarterback pressure, quarterback hits, and quarterback hurries. So there is almost zero reason to expect Wentz to be under pressure, and he should have optimal time throughout the game, especially with the offensive line that we have. That was one thing that was at the bottom of my notes that I was just like, I should probably throw that out there, especially after last week.
I feel like we say this all the time about the opposing team's offensive line, where they're poor, so we should get pressure, and then it doesn't happen. Now we're starting to get to the Eagles' offensive line is really good, and Wentz should have time, and then we watched last week, and he has next to no time.
Well, so, bottom half of the league, man, there's like 16 plus better teams at pressures, hits, and hurries on a QB.
You have faith? Do you have faith in our team right now? That's a no. If you have to think about it, that's a no.
If there was one thing left to have faith in, it would be Carson Wentz in that offensive line. I just think the offensive line had an off week last week. Now, if you're talking any other skilled player,
bad time to have an off week.
Because it's Dallas week.
Yes,
I get you. I feel you.
Would have much rather won last week and lose this week.
Yeah, and we both said you probably need to come out of this stretch of 6 games 4-2 to have a chance at the division.
You have to win
maybe 3-3.
Actually, they can go 3-3 because we'll discuss this probably like within, obviously over the course of the next couple weeks. Maybe we'll touch base on it during the bye week. But the last 5 games for the Eagles, they should go 4-1 at the very least. You have Miami, you have the Giants twice, you have Washington, and you have Dallas. You should go, and Dallas is at home. You should go at least 4-1, if not 5-0. But to get to that point, these next 4 games, they can go 2-2 in the next 4 games, which means in this 6-game road trip, this 6-game stretch, that they're 2-4. If you go 2-2 in the next 4, that puts you at 5-6. You win the last 5, you're 10-6. You win the division because I don't see Dallas winning more than 10 games. That's just me.
It could be close. It'll be close. I'd rather we come out winning these next 4 games.
Well, I feel a lot. They're not going to win all 4.
Or 3-1. I'd rather at least 3-1. 2-2 is tough.
Let's put it this way: the next 2 I feel more confident about than those last 2, the Patriots and the Seahawks. Just saying. All right, so let's move. Yeah, let's move to the biggest overreaction or your biggest take from week 7. And I can't believe we're already almost halfway through this season. It's crazy how fast football season goes. Week 7 in the National Football League. Connor, your biggest overreaction or take?
I'm going to throw probably a slight jab here, but the overreaction that the Vikings are back. So I get it. Cousins is playing well. He's hitting his targets. He's making smart throws. He's looking and a lot of people are talking like he's a potential MVP candidate. I get it. Cook is, and all I put in my notes is a fire symbol because that's about all you can do to describe Dalvin Cook right now.
Thielen my fantasy team, I like it.
He's on a bunch of mine. It is such a great experience having him there. Thielen and Diggs are clicking. Thielen missed this past week, but when one or the other is missing, the other is hitting their stride, and Diggs had a huge game last night. And they are brewing a pretty solid-looking 2-headed tight end monster with Rudolph and Irv Smith Jr. And their defense is strong.
Roll Tide.
Yep. So, and their defense is looking good. But, let's see them win when it matters. Get to the playoffs. We have seen this Vikings before, this Vikings that people are talking about right now. We saw it in 2017, and we completely embarrassed them on their own home turf. So, and we took the Super Bowl from them on that home turf. So,
well, we actually beat them in Philly.
Then stole
won the Super Bowl in their stadium.
Ripped their heart out in their stadium, basically. So I find it really tough to say that they're back. Back to what? Back to who? We've seen this Vikings team before, but can they continue to win and win when it matters is my big thing. So I got to wait and see it then, because I think it's a huge overreaction, especially the Cousins is an MVP. I'm picking Dalvin Cook. Any day I'm picking CMC as an MVP over Kirk Cousins this year. I'm sorry to Kirk Cousins. You can hit your targets, you can throw well, you can have a perfect passer rating, all you want, but Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey are far more valuable. You take Dalvin Cook out of this equation, and the Vikings could easily go from 5-2 to 2-5. They need Dalvin Cook just as much.
And I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan, but do you know who their backup is?
Oh fuck!
If their backup was playing, would they be 5? If their backup was playing with Dalvin Cook, would they be 5-2 right now? If their backup quarterback was playing.
I can't even remember who their backup quarterback is.
Exactly. Look, I am not a Kirk Cousins fan, but I'm just saying that the way he has been playing over the stretch of the last 4 games for them, he deserves. I'm not saying he's an MVP candidate, but he deserves some credit, because I don't think you can just throw anybody there and they would have the same numbers that he's had over the last 4 games. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's fair. That's fair, and you know
don't
what?
Even
it makes
know who
sense.
Their backup quarterback is.
If you throw in a competent quarterback, I think they can do well. You put Nick Foles there, which he never would. He would never do us like that. But you put a Nick Foles there, and I think Nick Foles could take that team somewheres. You just anybody competent.
Nick Foles is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, so.
Well, I mean, that's up for debate this year, because we haven't really seen Nick Foles.
I know. I'm just saying Foles is a better quarterback. Okay. My overreaction, and I'm staying home, and it's going to encompass this week. The outcome of the Eagles game this week will determine what Howie Roseman does. And this, I think, so if they win, they're going all in. They're going to get a cornerback. They're going to get a weapon. They're going to get something that they need. If they lose, he's selling. He's going, and I disagree with it only because Dallas was 3-5 last year, traded for Amari Cooper, and then won the division. But if the Eagles lose, and if they lose in embarrassing fashion like they have the last 2 weeks, we could see Malcolm gone, we could see McLeod gone, we could see a bunch of these veterans who we have grown to love, who helped us win a Super Bowl 2 years ago. They can be gone. So it's going to be very important, and watch how this game unfolds on Sunday, because Howie is obviously going to have his eye on it. And while we want him to improve the team, because even if they lose, even if they go 3-5, I don't think they're out of it yet, because I don't think Dallas is running away with the division. Because the back half of their schedule is way tougher than ours. They get the Patriots still, just like us. They've already faced Miami. They'll have the Giants for a second time next week. They faced Washington. They're gonna see the Patriots. They're gonna see the Rams. Who else? They're gonna see a couple other first place teams I can't think of off the top of my head, because they're playing a first place schedule. But while I will disagree if how we were to sell off pieces, because I think we can still win enough games to win the division because of our schedule and Dallas' schedule, it's going to happen if the Eagles get embarrassed on Sunday.
I can see it, but at the same time, I have a hard time. I feel like he'll lose a lot of sleep on Sunday night making the decision on fire sale or buy and continue to help make sure this team contends. Because at this point, it's really hard to picture a fire sale for the Philadelphia Eagles with the talent we have. You bring in a couple more pieces, and we could just as easily flip the remainder of the season, do a complete 360 with 2 or 3 key pieces, and you just say, screw next year's draft. Let's just get the pieces we need.
If that was the case, they should have traded the I'm gonna bring it up again. If that's the case, they should have traded the picks for Jalen Ramsey.
No, because then you're saying screw the future. There's a difference. You don't want. You don't want.
What?
Yes, you don't want to
You're giving up
mortgage 2
3
years.
picks. They suck at. You're not going to get a better play. We're never going to agree on this, but
No, you're damn right we're not.
You're not going to get a 24-year-old all-pro corner in the 15 to 25 draft pick range in this draft or in next year's draft.
All I know is if you're sitting on the fringe of debating a fire sale, then bringing Jalen Ramsey in was not going to change the scheme.
I wasn't debating a fire sale 3 weeks ago. Or 2 weeks ago, whenever he got traded to the Rams. They got him 2 weeks ago. They probably have 2 wins because there's no way Stephon Diggs goes for 4 touchdowns against us. There's no way Amari Cooper is going for over. I think he had over 100 yards against us. Yeah. No way that happens against Jalen Ramsey.
I just don't. I believe if at this point we were talking about a complete fire sale, that I just don't think that selling 2 firsts and a 4th was going to be the difference maker, and that one player, singular player coming over, was going to be a difference maker and completely turn this season around. I just don't see
it. For the Rams. All right. We're never going to agree.
We've only seen is one game he's played with the Rams, so let's wait.
How many touchdowns did Julio have in one game against us, and how many touchdowns did he have?
Stop it. The Atlanta Falcons are terrible.
They beat the Eagles.
Let's reopen this discussion when he plays a team. Who do they play this week? The Rams. I'm on the schedule right now. Damn it. They're on a bye, so we're not going to get to read it. Oh, no, they're there. Oh, they're against the Bengals. So are you going to sit there and say, how many touchdowns did he give up to Auden Tate or Tyler Boyd? No. We'll reopen this discussion when they play a real team.
You're talking like Jalen Ramsey's not the best corner in the league, though.
I'm not denying he's really good.
So
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But
they get the Steelers, so he gets to go up against Juju Smith-Schuster,
who's been garbage. The
quarterback is garbage.
Well, I mean, even the short time he had Ben Roethlisberger thrown, he wasn't showing much better.
Well, then they get the Bears in Week 11. So
are we gonna truly see Jalen Ramsey get to prove himself?
He already did against DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just saying.
I think it's gonna be up for debate for a while, depending on.
There's no debate.
It depends on how he does. If how he takes a first gets something, a 4th gets something, I think those 3 pieces are far more valuable to the team this year and helping us this year than all 3 picks for one guy. Jalen Ramsey.
You're wrong. Wrong.
Let's move on. You know what? Let's move on to the pick segment. Tell me how good I'm doing in the pick segment. Since all you want to do is tell me that I'm wrong.
You're wrong about Jalen Ramsey.
How right am I in the pick segment?
We both did crappy last week, just so you know. Now here, we're going to move to the pick segment. You are in the lead right now. You have 27 points out of 21. And just in case people don't know, you get 3 points if you get the Eagles game correct. You get 2 points if your upset is correct. And the upset and the lock, we use the spreads. The Eagles game, we just go straight up. So you get 2 points if you get your upset correct, and you get 1 point if you get your lock correct. So you are in the lead right now. Last week, the Eagles got killed. We both picked them to win, so we should have known that was going to happen.
All too often.
In your upset, you took Arizona over the Giants, which was kind of almost a lock. They won 27-21. And in your lock, you took the Niners plus 10 over Washington. You lost because it was a 9-0 game in that.
Because it was complete garbage weather. I wish I knew the weather that day.
Mine, I took 2 upsets. One was right, one was wrong. I took New Orleans plus 4 over Chicago. New Orleans won 36-25. That game wasn't as close as that score because the Bears' offense is trash. So, not surprisingly, they'll probably go for 40 against us next week. And in the other one, I took Detroit over Minnesota. Detroit plus 1.5 over Minnesota. And Minnesota won 42-30. Now, week 8, we're going to pick the Eagles. Bills, save that for last. Give me your first pick, whether it's an upset or a lock, Connor.
I'm going with a lock here because we were just talking about this team. I am locking in the Seattle Seahawks over the Atlanta Falcons by at least a touchdown. It's 6.5 right now. So I'm going with the Seahawks because the Falcons can't do anything, and Matt Ryan might not be playing this weekend. So all the more reason to believe.
Matt Schaub from Westchester, PA. Just saying. He's from out this way.
That Matt Schaub ain't changing that.
I know. So my first one is an upset. I took 2 upsets this week. So my first one, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers plus 4.5 over the Chicago Bears. I don't even know if the Chargers offense is going to be able to move the ball at all, but I don't have any faith in Mitchell Trubisky to move the ball for the Bears. And the Chargers have let me down so much. I thought the Chargers were going to win that division. That's not happening. They are very
no.
They are one of the most underachieving teams in the league this year. But I'm taking the Chargers plus 4.5 over the Chicago Bears.
I don't know if you saw the news today now that you've locked that pick in, but Keenan Allen's going to play a limited role, if any, during the game because of his hamstring injury. So
that's fine. They weren't going to throw the ball that much anyway.
Oh, well, yeah. Eckler maybe. They ain't running with Melvin Gordon.
That's fine because I have Eckler on my fantasy team still, so I need him to get as many points as he can while he can.
Well, take advantage of that garbage Melvin Gordon right now.
Go ahead. What's your next pick? It's got to be an upset.
Does it got to be an upset?
Yeah,
though?
You always have to pick one upset, man.
All right. Well, I'm picking the Cleveland Browns against the New England Patriots. I just think 11 points 11. By the Patriots. That's a lot of points. And I think the Cleveland Browns are being extremely underrated in this game. I think that Baker Mayfield will come out, put up some points. A better team. This is the first actual competition the Patriots have had to play. So that also plays into this a bit.
I would have agreed with you there until Jarvis Landry opened his mouth and said pretty much guaranteed to win. That Bill Belichick. I
don't need a guarantee, okay? I don't need a guarantee. I just need
Bill
them
Belichick
to
is going out.
Close.
Bill Belichick is going out there to blow this team out. So I actually would disagree with you on that pick. I would take New England. But my other upset
by
pick,
11. Oof.
I don't care. The Patriots won 33-0 last week against the Jets, but who cares? It was the Jets. Cleveland's not all that cracked up to be this year either. My other pick in an upset, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 2.5 over the Tennessee Titans. Yes, the Titans look a lot better with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. And yes, Jameis Winston is a turnover machine. But I'm still taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to at least cover that 2.5. So probably win, maybe. Who knows? But I'll take Tampa.
It's going to be an ugly game, I'll
yes,
tell you that.
Very, very ugly. Now, Eagles-Bills, give me your thoughts, and I need a score.
I didn't realize we were picking the ugliest games on the schedule, but
this one, the Eagles-Bills is an ugly game too.
Man, it is taking everything in my power not to pick the Bills just because I want the counter to happen, and it feels like that constantly happens. I'm going to do it. I'm going Bills. I'm going Buffalo Bills this week, and I'm doing it in the namesake of the Eagles getting this win.
Score?
I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think the defenses are going to come out to shine here, also because Josh Allen's inconsistent and Carson Wentz's weapons suck. I'm going to go 20-17.
20-17. All right. So Eagles Nation meets Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia is going to be up for this game, obviously, as they usually always are. You mentioned how the Eagles' weapons right now, Carson Wentz's weapons right now, are garbage. You're right. Miles Sanders should not be the best receiver on the team, but he's the best receiver on the team right now. Zach Ertz is constantly getting double teamed because nobody can open up the field. That's why they missed Deshaun. That's where Howie screwed up in the construction of this roster by not having another speed receiver or drafting a speed receiver instead of drafting J. Jaw. Terry McLaurin would have looked really good in Eagles green right now, but that's a different story for a different day. Obviously, hindsight being 2020 because he's the best rookie receiver in the NFL right now. Alshon, he's going to be up against Tre'Davious White. It's going to be a tough matchup. This is a really good Bills defense. I have no idea how the Eagles offense is going to do. But then again, usually when the Eagles' backs are against the wall, they come out and perform just like they did against Green Bay a couple weeks ago. I'm not saying this is the biggest game of Carson Wentz's career, because it's not. The LA Rams game from 2017, I think up to this point, is the biggest game of his career. But this is a huge game for the Eagles. They have to win this game. You can't go 3-5, because if you go 3-5, you're now a game and a half behind Dallas in the division, and you have 3 tough games in a row at home. Yes, they're at home, but they're still really tough games. So I think, this is a key game. So I have it 23-17 Bills. I took the Bills too. I couldn't take the Eagles this week. I don't know why. Maybe it's also reverse psychology thing that whenever we both pick the Eagles lose. The last time we both picked the Eagles to lose was the Packers game, and the Eagles won. So
we're doing reverse. If it happens again this week and they win,
we can never pick the Eagles again.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to sacrifice those 3 points on a for fun pick 'em on a podcast for our Eagles to get to the damn playoffs.
I know we need it. I just want to see some heart. I want to see effort. I want them to not be soft, because that's the way the defense, especially, has been playing over the last couple of weeks. And I hope they use this Orlando Scandrick blasphemy stuff that he's been saying. I hope they use this as a fire for them. They shouldn't have to, but if they have to, so be it. They need to come out. They need to play that Eagles football that we anticipate, that we expect week in and week out, and come away with a victory. Hopefully they do, man. Hopefully they do.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. We definitely need something to celebrate.
I want a victory podcast on Monday.
We need another victory green hour. These losing, like, I got guests signed up, but nobody wants to join for a losing green hour. Nobody I want to be able to bring some guests on and have some fun again. Make Eagles football fun. Let's go.
Please, hopefully it happens. All right, don't forget to follow the Always Next Year podcast on Twitter at ANY Podcast. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. That's Connor TEN. And follow me on Twitter at LJ Harrell 54. That's LJ Harrell 54. Connor, any final thoughts?
Just fly, Eagles, fly, baby. We need a win. We need a victory green hour. We need to see that Orlando Scandrick pissed you off. Prove to us that pissed you off.
That's sad that it's going to take a scrub to piss them off.
Whatever. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
That's true.
I'd rather Orlando Scandrick die for our sins, if that's how it's got to be.
One thing I did want to mention, I always said that if the Eagles ever won the Super Bowl, then I can die happy and I wouldn't care what happened afterwards. That's a total lie, because I hate losing. And I know we won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I should be happy, but they need to freaking win again. So please, Philadelphia Eagles, win this game. Let's get on a hot streak, and let's win the division, and anything can happen once you get in the playoffs. For Connor, I'm LJ. We're going to send it out to the Jackdaws. Thank you for listening to the Kelly Green Hour here on the Always Next Year podcast.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with a win. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me solid through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.